You all know your matchups too well. It's almost like you've subscribed to a certain bird's channel and been listening to his commentaries breaking down these matchups, because this is a horror story for Killjardy. He gets one of his most comfortable civs. A man who only knows relentless aggression has picked the Mongols. But something was left in the pick pool. He gets Mongols on Frisian Marshes, one of their best maps, but he has to do it into Elyona's Ayubids, what feels like a direct counterpick. Let's see if he can make it happen. Let's see if Killjardy can keep his hopes alive, because last week, he ran into his Kryptonite. Kryptonite spelled with a C in this situation, because Krakody was able to unravel the boy before going on to deal with Beastie. So, not the best of beginnings to the midweek muster. But Killjardy looking a lot more on form in this matchup. He himself would admit he hasn't had as many hours to put into the game recently. He took a little bit of a break. And by the way, I really want to emphasize this, that it's important to do that. Really big shout out to him for actually taking a little bit of time off after the World of qualifiers to just relax, spend time with family and whatnot. Because I think a lot of players just get back on the grind, right? They hop back on the track and they just keep grinding. And the issue with that is you burn yourself out. You don't have time to reflect. You don't have time to process or evolve. A lot of people think you have to play all the mutations to be the best, but I mean, if Mister should have taught the scene anything before parting back to his Age of Mythology waters, it's that sometimes just taking a break, taking a different approach to how you train, goes much further. For example, walking outside and whispering to sheep, which is exactly what Killjardy's done. 20 sheep to the 16, a decent start to his game. Nothing overwhelming, but... Wait, where's he going? What? Okay, that's kind of crazy. So what's happened here is Killjardy, I think he lost the rush to the center, which is unorthodox as Mongols. I think he gambled wrong and went south instead of west. But the other crazy part here is he's just assumed because Elyona's playing Ayyubids, he would have went berries and already came to this backside. So instead, he moves the Khan in for the rush. That's a missed opportunity. That's going to be like, what? Theoretically, there should be another 4, 5, 6 sheep you could have potentially got there. Which is really important when you're looking for this kind of timing attack, which I think you need all resources into pressure to try to contest. Oh! No! He doesn't know! Guys, this is really important on Frisian. You usually get about 4 or 5 sheep spawning to the side of your base, close to the edge where both players spawn. Neither of them know about it. And that's really important. Like, in a map like Frisian, you do have a lot of food to work with, but starvation is a reality check on this map. We've seen more and more recently that players have got very good at finding that timing to just block you on Frisian. Stop you reaching the extra gold, stop you reaching the extra food. Basically clock your game. And not just a soft clock, a hard clock, like a lockout on a timing. Elyona is going to look to conflict this quickly. We have got the camels on the way. I'm not surprised by the choice to go camels. In this matchup, like a Mongol player, if they're looking to full send it and just crush you, they're going to be going Deerstone. They could be going Silver Tree, but even then, the Desert Raid is nice because you can just sneak out and do damage. I think Killjardy's going to go... I mean, he has to go Deerstone, right? You've got a blocker on the gold, and I think you want to Stranglehold that. If you go for Silver Tree, you're letting up pressure, and that's when the Desert Raiders come into the picture. And you can't play Keshiks at that stage, right? You get locked into just raw archers. And then it's a case of whether you believe you can close the map quick enough, and if you do, it's happening. All right, we've got Silver Tree coming. He just can't resist the temptation. He's like Schmiegel with the ring. I have seen a few players recently just learning that you can build trade even if you don't build this landmark, right? It's a little bit more expensive, but you can always still set up double marketplace. I guess the challenge in your mind is whenever you go for silver trade like this, you have to argue, have you done enough already? Right? You would have seen that it's going to be the Desert Raider contract as well, which is what makes me a little bit concerned, right? Because that Desert Raider will just move in position. And the Desert Raiders are pretty good at running down traders. They have good base damage, good mobility to follow it up, and of course the ranged attack is good at finishing off these units. The only upside is, thank God, we no longer have to worry about a cavalry tag on traders. Wait, am I imagining that, or was that ever a thing? I remember the early days it wasn't a thing, and it was ridiculous because spears couldn't counter trade. I can't remember if they ever changed it for a small period of time. And now we see the reason, the true reason of the Desert Raiders. Clearance on the issue. So, at this point, you've got to ask the question, would it have changed had Killjardy just gone for Deerstone? I don't think immediately it would have. But he would have had more agency to kind of come back here, right, with infantry comp. Because the reason why you go Silver Tree, right? The number one reason is to build Keshiks. Can you think of many worse civs in the game to build Keshiks against? I can't. In Feudal Age, anyway. Like, this is one of the worst. Because just one Desert Raider ruins so much of your DPS. If he scales Desert Raiders, you're in your worst nightmare. Because remember, Keshiks are low base damage. They're 15. Realistically, it's low compared to Knights. Knights also get hurt by this, but Camelonese, 20% off that. That's you down to 12 damage. And then the 5 armor means you're hitting for a really underwhelming 7 damage into a unit that does 26 against you. And then minus, was it, 3. That is outrageous. 7 damage versus 23. I think it's best to go full trash versus Ayyubid, so Horsemen instead of Keshiks. I'd agree, but here's the problem. How does Silver Tree help you with that? You can technically trade the food, that's true. But then your timing is delayed, right? Like, the whole logic is if you're now delaying your advantage timing by building into traders to then get gold, to then trade, would it not have been better to just had the Deerstone instead? Amplified your food gathering with the quicker drop-offs, and then if you really need trade, go into it on a delay. I think that's the conundrum. Maybe I'm just, I don't know. Maybe at this point, I'm just too in love with Deerstone. But I feel like the percentage of games I've seen Mongols win with Deerstone in the last year feels substantially higher than Silver Tree now. And Killjardy has gone Keshiks. Okay, dude, this is... So the annoying thing about this play for Killjardy is because your opponent went for the Desert Raider wing, he inherently has Desert Raiders without needing to think counter, right? Like, if this was, for example, Eco Wing, going into Keshiks is kind of cool because your opponent doesn't have the unit yet. And Desert Raiders take a long time to scale. But he already has 2 out. You've just given him the trigger warning early. He's got 2 more in queue. Another one coming in 69 seconds. Killjardy is just raw massing Keshiks. That's crazy. I'm looking for the elaborate bait element here. Because the tricky part about massing Keshiks, guys, is you think you just like add in spears so you can actually deal with the Desert Raiders. Usually players go archers. I have wondered for a while if like you can actually brute force just Keshik spears. The logic being is like if you do this, eventually Desert Raiders get forced to melee and then they just die. But the problem is the gap to close, right? Like you will get stepped away from, the archers will whittle away at your spears, and then if you try to force charge them with the Keshiks, you're going to be disengaged and the melee can be activated, right? Like it's almost like the internal cooldown is too low on these to make spear Keshiks work, which is why we're now seeing Killjardy go for those archers. Oh, you know, it does at least have the Horsemen to buy some time, but the Desert Raiders are already in position, so that trade in its infancy is already getting culled. We're at, what, 3 traders? Well, 2 now. It's going to find the second as well. Another nice thing about playing Desert Raiders here, guys, I mean, there's so many things that make this unit seem obnoxious. The vision. Look at that AoE on this unit. Doesn't feel blind at all, right? You can tell that Camel Riders clearly went to their opticians recently. Like, I feel like at this point, it would only be fair when we zoom in on camels that we actually see them with spectacles on, you know? And even more obnoxious with Lancers, right? Like, Lancers intentionally have that extra vision for the full charge, but Desert Raiders do pretty well for themselves. So you will at least be able to clear that one up. That was one of the free ones, right? And, like, he did kill 2 traders. The traders were admittedly discounted, sure, but it's still 96 each. Hell yeah. It's gonna be a mass Desert Raider game. Oy, oy, oy. So, Killjardy. The awkward thing here is you almost have to just keep building Keshiks to get your opponent to just build Desert Raiders, right? So that's expensive for you, it's expensive for them. And then I guess, like, Killjardy's thought process here is I'm going to very gradually claw up into archers, you know? Like, at 17 minutes, I'll have 25 archers, for example, and a lot of Keshiks. Because then, like, the Desert Raiders will do well against your Keshiks, but the good news, at least for the Keshiks, is although they can die fast, they can at least sustain themselves a little bit with the healing. And that should buy time for archers to make the difference. Blacksmith timing is also going to be really important here. Ayyubids quite often have this awkward habit of forgetting that blacksmiths is a thing you can build in Feudal Age. And if Killjardy utilizes that well with Steeled Arrow and 25 archers, that could be the turning point in the fight. So Elyonar is at least buying a lot of space with these attempted raids. But you notice it's not enough. He needs to start like getting the trade regularly. And that's where it gets very interesting from the count perspective, right? Now that he's up to 11 Desert Raiders, this is only 4. Right? Where is the rest? There should realistically be a second group shuffling in. The weird part to me is he's so paranoid about a counterattack. Everything is at home. And I can't help but wonder if just, like, you know, use the stables to build a scout. Get a second scout here. You've got a scout here. You don't have to panic. It could just be that Elyonar is confident he can take a direct fight, because I feel like that's where we're heading. Dude's still floating a lot of food if that's the goal, though. It's almost like he's half in on this idea of an all-in and half in on this idea of advancement wing. Classic Ayubids, right? They're always thinking, how do I reach age 3? Sometimes it pays to focus more on age 2. I think this is one of those situations. Ram's moving in. He's going to get some extra value out of that. If he can kill the Uvu, it's actually worth what it cost him. Elyo is going to force the defense. So, it's time to find out what the archers are made of. Steel Arrow is on the way, but it turns out Elyonar doesn't have the same ailments that many Ayyubid players do. He remembered the blacksmiths. Undermesh is coming in. This is going to be a big deal. Steel Arrow could be incredible here as well, considering you've got low base damage, right? 7 to 8 makes a lot of difference here. Your opponent's going to try to get Undermesh, and at that point, you can still maintain over half damage at ranged against Keshiks. Now, though, it's going to be a dive-in. Outpost to be assaulted. Army is going to arrive, so he sees the mass archers, does have to shuffle away. Elyonar, the retreat is awkward here, though, because he's got archers in the formation. So the Desert Raiders aren't actually moving away fast. Movement speed arrow has been activated. Kiljardi is going to force Elyonar to turn around and fight here in the choke point, but this choke point actually works well for Kiljardi. Remember, the Keshiks can't win a big fight. They are just a front line to buy time. The Desert Raiders were not able to surround there. A misread of the situation. Elyonar fumbles in the choke point. I'm shocked by that as well. I mean, his whole army is cavalry, right? Like, you don't want to fight in a choke point there. Sure, you could shuffle half these guys into ranged, but Kiljardi will benefit more. It means his front line isn't dying quick enough that his archers are in trouble. The only way those Desert Raiders would have won that fight is if they get melee on the archers. Unable to do so, though. Instead, Elyonar now in full retreat. What a slip-up as well. Like, you know, Kiljardi, I get that he kind of forced Elyonar to turn around to fight, but out of all the times you could have chosen to do it, that possibly would have been the worst. And I think the cost value there, like just losing 5 archers by bailing on them feels a lot less expensive than what actually occurred there for Elyonar. So Kiljardi now in a firm position. We talked about him reaching that 25+ archer count. He's pretty much there. Trade, looking great. He's up to 8. Soon going to get 10. That's going to be another threshold cracked. And remember, these Silk Road thresholds are important. For the archer massing, Tier 2 will give him the wood. At least have Steel Arrow coming in as Elyonar. Well, he realizes there's finally an opportunity to get into melee mode. The problem is there's just so many spears still here, so I have to snipe them down. Archers are trying to clear the way. Spears have been practically removed. Elyonar needs to commit in. Just like Behemoth committed 40 into the stream. Thank you, my friend, and welcome one and all to our weekly tournament here. We're in the single elim format. Elyonar and Kiljardi, a tight series, both of them capable players, but Elyonar, fumbling just once, may have just stripped himself of all control on the map. And Kiljardi, never one to give up an opportunity to attack. He dives in. A hit like this can end a game. A few villagers going down, the rest able to break away, but that forces the commitment again. Desert Raiders ride in, a few spears left here. Archers trying to target them down, but the idle time alongside this, the trade behind it. Everything thumbs up for Kiljardi. Now Elyonar, another thumbs down here. Last week it was Corvinus. This week, it looks like it's going to be the Finn to finish him off. Keshiks have been mopped up, but with that, the Desert Raider count essentially just culled. Berry's still blocked out, and we talked about this whole element of starvation that can occur on Frisian. You get a lot of safe food with the sheep, but you eventually have to move out. When I see an Ayyubid player 15 minutes doing this, I cry. Actually, I'm lying, guys. I laugh. I've watched too many Ayyubid victories. They need to lose a few. Oh, yo. Oh, no. No. Too soon. He's desperate for food, man. And Kiljardi's not going to stop now. He's got a trickle of troops coming. More and more on the way. And Elio, the other problem now is he has no food. Right? So all you can build is archers. So with a weaker economy, you're just going to be building the same unit as your opponent. Yeah, in that case, Elio, smile for the camera. We need a picture for the autopsy. This is looking brutal, and it's about to get worse. Undermesh now on the way for Kiljadi. Funnily enough, Kiljadi was able to overwhelm in that fight, despite the fact Elio even went in for the Undermesh sooner. Didn't matter. And that's the power of the Archer trade, right? Like, if a Desert Raider is in Archer form, does 8 damage. Great. Sure. Cool. This does 6. And costs less than half, right? 180 resources versus 80. That's why Archers is the go-to counter, the thing you're looking for here. I do wonder if, like, in hindsight, I don't want to say Horsemen, maybe, though. Like, Horsemen plus Desert Raiders would have given mobility to Ayyubids here. The problem he has is, like, anytime a fight looked bad, which has been multiple phases, you've struggled to retreat. Like, the problem as well is the way this formation shuffle is working, and I don't know why it does this, by the way, guys. Desert Raiders get put at the back. I'm pretty sure he had them in melee mode and they were still getting put at the back, whereas Archers were at the front. The problem with that formation is you have a static unit slowing you down, and your premium unit is going to the back of the formation where Archers will target them. It's ridiculously bad. It's possible he did have them in range form because it's just a habit to leave them range form, but has anyone tested this? I haven't been able to confirm. I don't think they ever fixed it so that melee form puts the camels ahead of the archers. It's hard to call because these days, when we do see Desert Raiders, we practically just see Desert Raiders. So double ram now coming in. Kiljadi, he's even got the signal arrow, the bug signal arrow coming in. It's meant to give an extra 5 seconds, it doesn't. I think it gives an extra 2. There's only 2 seconds left in this game. GG called. Kiljadi, cozy as always on the Mongols, will not be denied. He continues on through and somehow overcomes what is meant to be one of the most painful counters for the Mongols.